Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Dear viewers, Assalamu alaikum. I'm your host Faisal Raza Khan and you are watching Foresight. Viewers, on April 22nd, 2025, an untoward incident happened in Pahalgam, Anantnag, Islamabad district of Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir, where at least 26 tourists died in an attack. Most of the Indians, the Indian government, its violent media, retired journals, bureaucrats and all others, they were all labeling allegations right from the start. It was an incident of violence, but they have categorized it that it was all done by Pakistan. It is very unfortunate. Without any concrete proof, without any evidence and without even any investigation. Most of the people who are mindful of the fact, the past of the Bharatiya Janata Party, a political wing of Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh, that how they play politics, how actually they use violence for their nefarious designs and to attain their objectives. And it was all done in the Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir. Mind that this is the territory where India always want to provoke violence, to promote violence. And when we are talking, that was the incident happened on a day when the US Vice President J.D. Vance was on Indian visit. And also the Prime Minister Modi of India, he was on visit to Saudi Arabia. He cut short, came back to Delhi and took a drastic decision. Pakistan-India relations, the diplomatic relations are already downgraded and further cut down the Pakistani mission strength from 55 to 30. Then also declared tri-services attaches persona non grata, halted all type of trade with Pakistan. It was already halted. Already shut down Atari border, cancelled all visas of Pakistanis and asked common citizens to leave India in 48 hours. And also the diplomats and all others to leave India in next 7 days. But the surprising thing was that aftermath of that so-called incident that was categorized as a false flag operation by most of the mindful people, India made a statement that the Indus Water Treaty is unilaterally suspended. Although there is no provision within the Indus Water Treaty, especially the Article 12 Clause 4 says that it can only be done through mutual actions, consensus, because it's a bilateral treaty and World Bank is the guarantor in that. After that, soon after, Pakistan, especially Pakistan's National Security Committee met and reciprocally responded to India. Done the same what India done. Cancelled all visas of the Indians. Exception was there for the Sikh pilgrims who are on religious visa. They are the exception. They are spared. But rest of the Indian citizens asked to leave Pakistan in 48 hours. Cancelled all visas. Shut down the Wagah border, as well as the diplomatic mission, that is the strength cut down to 30. And Indian defense, naval and air attaches declared persona non grata as well. And when it comes to the trade, Pakistan took one step further. All types of trade halted with India, even the Afghan transit trade, and then the trade from the third country as well. Along with that, Pakistan took a decision to immediately close its airspace for all kinds of aircrafts, the airlines, whether the Indian owned or Indian operated. Now they cannot cross from Pakistan's airspace. Regarding 1960s Indus Water Treaty, now National Security Committee declared water as a vital national interest and warned India that any attempt to stop or divert the flow of Pakistani waters would be considered as an act of war, will be met with full force across the entire spectrum of national power. This is the topic today, and a very important topic of Pakistan's national interest. We will start our discussion, but first of all, right now, the Chairman of the Senate, Yusuf Raza Gilani, is talking. Welcome back, viewers. We were talking about the untoward incident in Pahalgam, Anantnag, Islamabad, in Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir. And to talk on this grave situation, which was emerged because of the Delhi's nefarious designs, we have in our studios Dr. Awais bin Wasi. He is the Indian affairs expert. Most welcome to you, Dr. Thank you very much for your presence here. And we have Mr. Almas, Haider Naqvi, is the international relations expert. Most welcome to you, Almas. Thank you. And online joining us, Colonel retired Muhammad Abid Latif Sindhu. He is the strategic affairs expert. Thank you very much, Colonel Sahab, for being with us. Thank you. My first question to you, Dr. National Security Committee, you must heard and gone through the statement which was issued earlier. Completely rejected the Indian announcement of to hold the Indus Water Treaty in abeyance. Declared water as a vital national interest and to safeguard it at all cost. Any attempt to stop or divert the Pakistani waters on will be considered as an act of war and will be responded with full force across the entire spectrum of the national power. How do you see this as a statement first and then the Indian act? Because it seems that this all, whatever happened in Pahalgam, was actually staged just because to take such a drastic decision.
Thank you so much to have me to discuss on this very important subject. As India is trying to use water as a weapon, or this discourse of weaponization of water that has been emanating from New Delhi. But we need to look back and contextualize this phenomenon, that this thing did not emanate after Pahalgam attack. It started after Uri attack. When Uri took place, for the first time that we heard from New Delhi that they started talking about the amendment or the revocation of Indus Water Treaty. And then second time when there was another Pulwama attack, and for Pulwama attack, Governor of Srinagar, Satyapal Malik himself mentioned very clearly in the media that this happened because of the negligence of Indian intelligence. And then this, this echo or this weaponization of water that we heard rather loudly when Prime Minister Modi said that blood and water, they cannot go together and they cannot flow together. And then later on we see in the recent incident that we have also seen that they are talking about the amendment or the suspension. They have suspended this Indus Water Treaty, regardless of whether technicality.
Even they have tried their best to have review of Indus Water
exactly.
Treaty.
So the point is that it seems that that has been considered and predetermined or pre-planned action, and it was not because of this tragic incident which occurred on April 22nd. So that we need to understand from that context. Secondly,
but they have tried to erupt a conflict. What
exactly,
a conflict!
As you have rightly pointed out, the verdict or the stance coming out of the Security Committee, that it's a lifeline for Pakistan.
No doubt about that.
Because that 80% cultivable land is made possible because of Indus water, and 90% food security is being made possible because of the water which is coming from Indus Basin. And 25% of Pakistan GDP that is dependent on Indus Basin water. And in this context, when Pakistan unfortunately is facing some water scarcity. Water stressed country. Pakistan is one of the water stressed countries. So India tries to, capitalize, unfortunately, this vulnerability this Pakistan is currently is facing. So I think that this whole discourse coming from New Delhi needs to be looked in the whole context.
Definitely, your point well taken. Almas, Pakistan also declared that Indian behavior after Pahalgam was totally irresponsible, and if India will not take its decision back, especially when we are talking about Indus Water Treaty, Islamabad may consider to hold Shimla Agreement and other bilateral arrangements in abeyance. Your thoughts, number one, and by the way, the Deputy Prime Minister and the Foreign Minister unveiled that when yesterday a démarche was given to Pakistani Charge d'Affaires, in that list, Indus Water Treaty or kind of abeyance was not actually mentioned. Your thoughts?
Thank you very much, Faisal, for having me here. Look, the Indian actions are not new, it's in a habitual, especially under the Modi regime. We can see the recurrent patterns of such kind of unilateral actions. There is a mindset behind it. In my understanding, first of all, I would like to say that the Indian leadership and foreign policy elite, they think that India is now one of the regional power, and they try to project in India itself as a global power. So this is continuously they are trying to project itself as an international power. So we can see in 2019
the Pulwama incident.
Incident, and now once again we can see that the unilateralism in Indian behavior is persistent. They want to be as a business as usual. So just like the great powers do. So they don't want to care the international law. So in my understanding, the Indus Water Treaty, India has suspended, and I think this is just rhetoric, because if you look at the treaty, there is no clause that allows to suspend the treaty.
Even unilateral suspension, there is no word of that kind there.
If you want to suspend the treaty, again you need a treaty.
Definitely, definitely. With mutual consensus.
Mutual consensus.
Yes.
And if you want to amend the treaty, then again you need consultation.
And this is not even possible verbally. You have to write something on that. And you have to be mutually understandable on that account,
so
basically.
For suspension, for amendment, you need consensus. And there is a third party is also involved, World Bank.
Definitely.
Definitely.
So they are the guarantors, basically. They are the main proponent. Really. So
if there is any dispute arises, then there is a mechanism is mentioned in the treaty that then we either party, the victim party, can approach to the international arbitration system. So in my understanding, the suspension is the rhetoric. This is the reason, as you mentioned, that in démarche, in the official communication,
that was not mentioned there.
This is not mentioned.
Your point well taken, Almas. Dr. Wasi, do you think that India will accept if Pakistan in future, this is just a future scenario because that is not the case right now, opt to knock World Bank or international arbitration or both? Because it looks that India is following some sort of a pre-planned path. The international order, or that is considered as a disorder right now, or even trying to follow the same way as Israel is doing. And when the US administration, the Trump administration itself, not adhering the international law, the relations or the principles, and India intends to get benefits of the US strategic partnership, while Washington also given India a leverage when it comes to the conversation and talks between Modi and Trump.
You know, after Second World War, First World War, and Second World War, the order that established, in which there were some institutions, and those institutions, they were, established on the principles of equality and justice and fair play. But unfortunately, in the current situation, which has been characterized with the disorder and this kind of anarchy is being witnessed at international landscape, and India unfortunately is taking clue from Washington with regard to not doing any kind of compliance with the bilateral treaties, with the international agreements, with the United Nations resolutions, you name it, and you will see that India is flouting it. India is violating it. This is the agreement, for example, the modus operandi, or the in case of any dispute, the mechanism is very well defined. There are three options. For example, that if there is a kind of negotiation, first is that through negotiations an issue has to be resolved. If through negotiation issue is
If
not
you
to be
want to
resolved,
terminate this agreement, or you want to have any sort of a change in that, review in that,
exactly.
you can go for consensus and having mutual consensus, and having bilaterally you can do it. But if you have any sort of a some challenge you are facing, or you are not agreed with the other party, you can go for arbitration or to World Bank.
Yes, arbitration. The second point is that is clearly mentioned in section 12 of Indus Water Treaty, that there is a second option, that the appointment of the arbitrator. Through arbitration, that the issue can be resolved.
Article 12, clause 4.
Yes, clause 4, but India is not going to comply with that. The third one is that the permanent arbitration commission, there is a third mechanism, there is a third option for conflict resolution. India is not going to that. India is trying to manipulate, trying to project this, these clauses in such a way that these clauses are just a tantamount to changing the material condition, changing the realities of Indus water dispute. As a matter of fact, it has nothing to do with that. So, with such very clearly defined sections and clauses stipulated over there, India is violating it. So, if we see that the consistent pattern, and recently in 2023, India has formally written a letter that there is India wants to bring amendment into that. But if India is serious, if that attempt is not nullified, India has to comply with the mechanism that is.
But it is impossible really that in any sort of Indian attempt is not nullified. So their intention is very clear on that. Your point well taken. Colonel Retired Abid Sahab, what about the decision to close Pakistan's airspace with immediate effect for all Indian owned or Indian operated airlines? How vital this decision is for India particularly to take the costly and time consuming routes, adding the flight time for passengers and fuel costs for the airlines, because Pakistan is now one of the vital aviation corridor for India. Meanwhile, what's the significance of this decision when it comes to the military purposes?
Yeah, thank you for inviting me. Before, I think, commenting on this, I just want to add a word about what is actually going on in the strategic minds of the strategic elite of India. I think this just reminded me a book which is recently written by Barbara F. Falter on civil wars. In that, he has defined a new term, which is anocracy. That is a combination of autocracy and democracy. I think India is a typical example of that, in which Modi and his, I would say, the clique of the cronies, they have become so autocrat, through this dispensation of their ideology, supremacist and fascist ideas, through Bajrang Dal, through Sangh Pariwal, through BJP and RSS. Now, as you have rightly said, this Pakistani air corridor has a very significant and very strategic importance for the Indian airlines to cross over, especially going towards the west. If we start counting The airports which are most benefited from this corridor, it is Delhi, Jaipur, Amritsar, and few others. And once Pakistan, impose this restriction on the Indian airlines, the Air India, Indigo, the Tata Airlines, I think they have to increase the fare up to a tone of 10 to 12 percent of the fares per passenger. And the cost once we did this in 2019, the accumulative cost in 1 year was over 700 crores to these airlines. So as far as I would say, Pakistan has used this leverage just to give a message to the Indian leadership that Pakistan is a responsible country, Pakistan is a rational country, and we want to negotiate, we want to talk to India on everything, on every affair. But blaming Pakistan every here and then, every 2 3 years, and putting us into a dock on a mere and a concocted pretext is, I think, it will not go on like that.
Sir, but
And other
sir,
measures which have
Pakistan
been
wants
taken.
to have negotiation with every country, but not at the cost of Pakistan's national integrity, sovereignty, and independence. There is no question about it, and you were talking right on that aspect. But what about the airspace restrictions regarding the military purposes? Because we have seen over the years that most of the countries, when they have the missile tests or some sort of air sorties and all that, especially in a situation where right now Pakistan and India are, because the tensions are growing there because of the Indian hegemonic design. So when it is there and the space is restricted, what it means when we are talking about the military purposes?
Yeah, it has a significant effect on India, because we already know that we have few risk reduction measures and agreements with India, like the notification of missile tests before time, and then we have an agreement on the exchange of nuclear installation between the two countries. And moreover, the test flights, the sorties, and especially once these military measures are taken by both the countries, that was very significant, and it has a very significant effect not only on the civil side of the aviation of India, but rather the military side also.
Your point well taken. So, Kansab, Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister Ishaq Dar categorically said that although India has not provided any sort of a solid evidence to Pakistan on Pahalgam incident, but Pakistan has most credible evidence that some foreign nationals stationed in Srinagar, occupied Kashmir, they are hosted by the Indian Intelligence Agency Research and Analysis Wing, RAW, with latest technology, improvised explosive devices. Those were imported from the one of the country like Israel. And then he said the Pakistani forces are fully capable of defending the country. Who are these foreigners? Who are these foreigners particularly? What's their objectives, and what are Indian plans right now?
Yeah. The Indian media itself, it has reported very clearly and very candidly that the weapon used in day before yesterday's attack on the tourists were of American origin. So it means that the weapons which were left behind in Afghanistan is now being infiltrated or being brought through different channels into different areas of the world. And it is very important on one context, that either these weapons are smuggled to create a footprint of a different kind, in which a playbook is played, and Pakistan is being blamed for that, because everyone knows that these weapons are right now there in Afghanistan and are being used by the terrorists in KP areas and also in Balochistan. And the other part is that the indication of some foreign elements in Srinagar, it indicates probably towards the presence of uh, some experts of Israeli origin, as the Palestine and Kashmir recently and also lately is being taken as a symbiosis of each other, and particularly the strategic thinkers in India always quote that whatever has been the dispensation, the military dispensation, the kinetic dispensation, or any type of dispensation through which they liquidated the Israeli or Palestinian territory, has to be applied on Kashmir also. And this strategic relationship,
Your point well taken, Colonel Sahib, your point well taken. Almas, what about Pakistan's reciprocal decisions to shut down Wagah border after Atari got closed? Then we have seen that the transit of the Indians also restricted now. The visas cancelled, Afghan transit trade, the trade from the third country, and even the SARC visa exemption scheme under which the different visas were issued also curtailed now, except the Sikh community who are on their pilgrimage right now on the religious visas. So what about this one? Because relations are already downgraded between the two countries from the last many years. So what it means when India initiated to cut down the diplomatic posts within Pakistani mission in Delhi, at which Pakistani reciprocally took the decision.
I think the reciprocation from the Pakistani side is in a quid pro quo plus.
Okay.
So this is the Pakistani declared strategy. Whatever India will initiate will be responded with the plus response.
Definitely, because even Pakistan right now responded with
the plus.
At least plus.
Plus. At least the two initiatives, for example, first, as you mentioned, that the suspension of the airspace, ban of the airspace to the Indian owned and operated airlines, and the secondly, suspension of trade and then the transit trade. This is the plus, what I would say. So, why the Indians have initiated this initiative? I think this is the craziness and madness. Nothing more we can say it, because I don't think so. With this kind of initiative, they can put any kind of pressure on Pakistan.
This actually shows the Indian regime's fascist mindset, which is already prevailing in India from the last many years.
So what they made difference? I don't see any pressure on Pakistani policy elite here. Pakistani responded with confidence in my understanding.
Okay, Almas, your point well taken, because we have run short of time, so we have to cover lots of questions. Dr. Awais, Defence Minister Khwaja Mohammad Asif also elaborated that this unprecedented thing which happened, that a declared terrorist who was responsible for the Muslim massacre in Gujarat, more than 2,000 of the people were murdered in Gujarat and elsewhere, declared a butcher of Gujarat who was not eligible even for the visa, for the United States visa, and traveled to the US because he was banned there. And look at him, he is the Prime Minister of India, leveling terrorism allegations on Pakistan through false flag operations time and again, when nearly 1 million occupation forces are stationed in illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir. How was it possible? Where were they? Because Indian forces, along with the Central Reserve Police Force, along with the Border Security Force, along with Rashtriya Rifles, along with the police, there is a huge setup, the security setup within illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir, and then lots of agencies over there. So where were they when that was happened in Pahalgam?
Exactly. You know, first of all, about this Gujarat massacre of 2002, and what the United States has taken that policy that Modi was not allowed to enter the United States. That was not based on any figment of imagination, or that was not based on any impressionistic judgment. There was a lot of discourse, there was a lot of reports, there were a lot of evidences. Based on that, it was proved that Gujarat administration, Modi was chief minister at that time, that they were complicit in the massacre that took place in Gujarat. So the point is that there were clear evidences. So it is ironical that the same person, when he assumed the premiership, so you know, everything seemed okay for that. So this is something that raises question about the world powers, about their standards that they claim and they hold. Second thing about the state of Jammu and Kashmir, in which 900,000 security paramilitary forces deployed, and all occupational legal framework, the operational framework that is in place, agencies are working over there, and this is the place where this unfortunate incident took place. That is the prime area according to them, because they were having film shootings, and after 1 year there was Amarnath Yatra that came on the way of Amarnath Yatra. So despite having so much important place for them, this raises serious question about the labs. So it seems that
even the mantra of normalcy of Modi is also shattered over there.
Shattered, exactly. So Modi tried a lot to give this impression to the world. For example, that G20 summit, some sessions were held in Srinagar with the same purpose, to give the world impression that everything is okay, everything
Working
is
group
fine.
meetings were there.
Yes, working meetings over there. Everything is fine in Srinagar. But the point here is that all these things, even Rahul Gandhi, I'm not saying that Indian opposition leader Rahul Gandhi says that all these claims were hollow, that everything is fine in
Definitely,
Kashmir.
because in Srinagar, in one center, there were at least 0.3 million of the forces. They were guarding this only one working group meeting of
Exactly.
the
And
G20.
how can that leader point finger to the other country when there is no credible evidence? On the other hand, there are credible evidences of his involvement or of the country's involvement in transnational terrorism.
Yes, definitely. I have the question on that. I'll come back on that. Colonel retired Abid Latif sir, why India is not looking inward? Why a perpetrator of thousands of terrorist acts in Pakistan, running networks, Indian Navy in-service commander Kulbhushan Sudhir Yadav is a living proof in Pakistan right now, in Pakistan's custody, that India is actively involved in terrorism in Pakistan. Indian proxies like Balochistan Liberation Army, Balochistan Republican Army, the TTP, Fitna al-Kharij, Majid Brigade, and all others getting refuge and medical treatments even in India. And ample evidences are there, like Aslam Achu and all others, those took refuge in India. Their former raw operative, the National Security Advisor, Ajit Doval, openly admitted several times that Indian state sponsoring terrorism in Pakistan, and how those terrorists are actually facilitating India's nefarious designs, and that facilitation straight away coming from third and the fourth country from where India is actually operating.
Actually, once this is the state policy to perpetrate terrorism, then how you expect a state that it will look inward, or it will have its own audit and make people accountable for these heinous crimes which are being committed, not only against Pakistan in Balochistan through interference in Balochistan or through KP, but Bangladesh, Bhutan, Nepal, every neighboring country is actually victim of Indian hegemonic designs and their manifestations through all means, and particularly through these intelligence operations in which they target the trans-frontier, trans-border target in all the countries. And particularly, I think they take a leaf or a cue from Zionism and the coming up into political arena of Sangh Parivar, BJP, RSS, and a particular mentality in which the Hindu supremacism is, supremacy and supremacist ideas are being inculcated through history, through a new historicism, through creating a new archaeology in which they are trying to tell their people and teach their students and their
Definitely, Colonel
younger
Sahib, India is time and again propagating the Hindutva mindset of the fascist Modi regime, particularly when it comes to the Akhand Bharat. As the defense minister made a statement that Pakistan is actually going through a low-intensity war imposed by India right now, and even if there would be a large-scale war, Pakistan is ready to defend its territory and sovereignty, integrity. But on the other hand, he also mentioned that India is actually preparing for the mass-scale terrorism to spread in the urban centers of Pakistan, and we are already prepared for that. But what you say on that? Because do you think that India used this Pahalgam incident as a smoke screen to spread terrorism across Pakistan?
Yeah, I think so. I think what India in the coming days, how this will unfold, this will unfold from the Indian side is, bringing, God forbid, more instability in the urban areas of Pakistan through again their nefarious designs and their cronies, which are already there in the shape of different criminal groups inside our polity of people. And I think that one thing which we have already mentioned, that India will also try to, in my opinion, will also try to take a misadventure in Hajipir area probably, or in our Kale area, because there has been going a lot of discussion and a dialogue, and in their strategic elite, that the Haji Pir is the place from there, as per their opinion, as per their calculations. Haji Pir is the place from there. All the infiltrations is taking place since decades. So I think there are a lot of things which India is going to take.
Your
And
point
there
well
is a lot.
taken. Your point well taken. Almas, a very brief comment. Whether the incident is that happened in Pahalgam as another attempt by the Modi government by playing the victim card or the casualty card, and its propagation through media, through a fabricated narrative of being a victim of terrorism, just to shape international opinion, which was already eroded due to the Indian involvement in the state-sponsored global terrorism as a primary tool of its foreign policy when it comes to Canada, when it comes to UK, US, New Zealand, even Australia, and rest of the countries. Region is already suffering from the Indian hegemonic terrorism regime which is going on.
I think it's in a dual strategy at the home. I think they are trying to project itself that they are victim of terrorism, but externally we can see that they are perpetrating terrorism. There are lots of incidents in Pakistan, and you mentioned that in Canada, United States, Australia. So this is a deliberated their strategy. In my understanding, I think Indian strategy does not work anymore. They don't have any leverage in this case, because it's not possible to wage a full-scale or conventional warfare with Pakistan due to the nuclear deterrent. So they have only the options to engage in some terrorist activity and then engage Pakistan in some kind of activities.
Because of the
So,
because of the negative mindset prevailing
negative
in Delhi right now. Your point well taken, Dr. Awais. Very brief because we have very short time now. What about the United States Commission on the International Religious Freedom? Their recent report, in which they have recommended ban on RAW, the Research and Analysis Wing, the intelligence agency of India. And why not the international community taking stern action against India, make them accountable? Because what they have done in Canada, what they have done in United States, what they were doing in Australia, there were lots of on-record statements and reports and things are there. Why international community is mum on that?
First of all, this organization that this is the United States bipartisan organization that was created as a result of an act. So this is not a simple organization, a simple government body. So it has a constitutional cover in that. So that it's not the only first report that they are saying it. For the last 4 or 5 years, they have been consistently issuing this report about India's questionable record with regard to the minorities, with regard to the religious minorities.
Definitely.
You know, so this is this needs to be looked into, and other things though already they have been discussed, and the evidences have already been shared by the global intelligence network, and in that intelligence the important point is that non-state actors are not involved. In that report,
your
Home
point
Minister-
well taken, because we unfortunately we have a very short time now. Thank you very much, Dr. Awais, for your presence here. Thank you very much, Almas, for your presence in the studios, and thank you very much, Colonel Retired Abid Latif, for being with us online and for your candid views. Viewers, you have just listened to our panelists. It is very important for the international community to take stern action against India, because India is the one perpetrating terrorism across the region, even at the global scale. And US, United States, UK, Canada, New Zealand, and all of them are witness actually. Five Eyes has the reports. The international intelligence agencies are the witness of it. And what the region is suffering from, even Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Nepal, Bhutan, Pakistan, even Myanmar and Afghanistan are suffering because of Indian state-sponsored terrorism. And what happened in Pahalgam was unfortunate incident. Pakistan condemned it. Pakistan has the sympathies with those who were the victims. But unfortunately, India has used once again this false flag operation to level allegations against Pakistan on without any evidence, without any investigation. And when Pakistan asked today to have those credible evidences if there would be any involvement, but India is still mum on that. And what Pakistan reciprocal actions taken, this is the right time that Pakistan has to stood firm with the truth, and to take even the diplomatic and legal course internationally, what is permitted right now. And when we are talking about having prosperity in South Asia, it is important that India has to think that no country is going to bow their head before the Indian hegemonic designs. Every sovereign country has the right to stand up. Every sovereign country has the right to defend itself. And Pakistan is ready. Pakistani nation is united today, and if there would be any sort of a misadventure from India, it would be a very catastrophic for the daily. This is all from today's Foresight. It's time to sign off. Allah Hafiz.